Good afternoon, everyone.
Mm.
For those who have not yet met me, I am Katrelia Walker. I'm your AFT 1521A Health and Wellness Coordinator, and I'm excited about today's course, Part 1 or Part A, that we're about to launch into. Actually been speaking to the creator of this course as well as the presenter of this course since last year. And when I saw that in my notes, I'm like, oh, did it take this long? Um, when it was presented to
Mm.
me from a contact at City College, I didn't I jumped on it, but I didn't have an avenue by which to present it district wide. And I said, this would really be great to bring to the AFT College Staff Guild. And so I'm excited to do that. I will be serving today as your moderator. And right now, I'd like for Andrea to just welcome you as well. But thank you for taking time out of your um, holiday, your time off, or a day of respite from the district or from your college work to actually participate in this first session. And so, Andrea, would you say, speak to those who've joined us right now and give us a few words of encouragement?
Absolutely. Well, I'm encouraged. I thank you guys for coming on this holiday. Oftentimes we don't get a chance to take care of ourselves, self-care, rest, and relax. But I see that there was a need for financial literacy. And Katreya does such a wonderful job making connections. And Mr. Miller here is so amazing at what he provides and he does. And so as a thank you and a pour back into our membership, you'll see an uptake in educational materials, how to retire, understanding your CBA, what is a union. We really want to start empowering our members so that you guys can actually have generational wealth or those things that you need as you're approaching retirement. You make informed decisions and also just understanding what unionism is in action and pouring back into its memory. It's like a Netflix subscription. We don't want you to pay into something that you don't feel that you're supported in or only have two channels. So as you bear with us in this grace stage as we're growing, we are just grateful to have members who are showing up on their days off, really to learn and be empowered. And we appreciate you for being here. Again, thank you, Katrelia, and thank you, Mr. Miller, for what you do. And I did my own plans and my homework, pre-homework. So I'm going to sit back and enjoy and learn a lot myself. So, and thank you so much for this because again, we ask for not a equitable salary, but an enjoyable living wage. We want more than just equitable salary. We want enjoyable living wages, and this is going to teach us how we budget with what we have while also demanding more. So, hi guys, and hi Laura. I see you just joined as well. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you, Andrea. So you should have had your pre-work assignment, which was the network worksheet, as well as the monthly budget. I resent that information twice so far to you. The links are there for you if you didn't get a chance to finish it or work on it at all, which is quite possible. But I wanted to just give you a couple of things as far as housekeeping goes. As we go forth in this first session, as well as the second session next Thursday, I want to remind you that please, it is critical that you keep your personal financial information, and even it's very well connected. I've come to learn personally, even your health information, because often one affects the other. Private. This is a public forum. Do not share this information openly. Do not put it in the chat. Do not share that of someone else that you may know of. Let's keep it very private so that everything can be done decently and in order. Also, we are recording the video, as you know. The slide presentation will be available after the session has ended. So don't worry, you will be able to review, as well as a copy of the recording will be sent to you as well if you want to go back over some things that you may have missed. Polling questions. As you can see on the screen, we have the first one up. I think 73% of you so far have um, actually answered the poll. I hope the rest, as you have come in, are able to see it. Sometimes Zoom doesn't allow it, but if not, there are more questions coming, so don't worry about it. We have several that you will be able to participate in, and we do encourage you to participate in these polls. It keeps the class interactive. As far as questions that you may have, if you would put all your questions in the chat to me as your moderator during the presentation, um, Bruce will not be able, our presenter will not be able to see the chat as he's going through his PowerPoint. So if you would send them to me, I will then ask the question on your behalf and get an answer from our presenter. At the end of the session, we will open up the mic for questions, but I'd like to keep it orderly by having you to find that react button down there with the cute heart on my screen on Zoom. Use that to raise your hand to be recognized so that we can keep the airways, from getting all jumbled up. And to build community among us, if you are able to, meaning that you're not driving on your mobile phone, mobile Zoom app, but you're able to share your screen, your video of who you are, and not just, he wants to see your face is basically what I'm trying to say. It just builds more community and if you're comfortable with it, please turn on your cameras. And if you haven't already registered for session 2, please do so right away. And when I finish talking and I turn everything over after the introduction of our presenter today, I'll put the links for session 2 and the QR code into the chat. Now, let's talk about our presenter. He is an awesome person, absolutely. Just talking to him before you came on, I've learned even more about him. But Bruce has dedicated his retirement years to making financial literacy accessible to all. And we are so thankful. Bruce graduated from Dartmouth in economics. He was a summa cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa. And he also is a graduate of Stanford as well, Graduate School of Business. He has his MBA, graduating with the top 10% honors. He developed this course himself, understanding money, and it is a part of his mission to educate folks like me who not yet a millionaire, I'm sorry, billionaire, but want to get there, okay? Just financially free, period. He's designed this course, he developed it, and has been very busy just talking with him, launching it. He's taught this course at Dartmouth, where he graduated, Princeton, USC, LACC, even with our AFT, I believe the Faculty Guild, Habitat for Humanity, Women in Network, Department of Mental Health, also LAPD, and many more groups and organizations. Now, he has empowered thousands of people to make their way to financial freedom, and I am going to be 1001, and I hope you choose to be so as well. Well, number 2, I'm going first. And he not only teaches this course pro bono, that means absolutely free, and he has no connection with any financial company, so he's not going to sell you any products, right? But he's offering the no cost coaching, financial coaching to those who sign up after session 2. And so with that, I am very excited to turn everything over to our speaker, Bruce Miller.
Well, thank you, Katrelia. Thank you, Andrea, for that wonderful introduction. Welcome, everybody. And I think we can close, because I can't see enough, we can close out and share the results of the polling
And there you
question.
go. It's coming up.
Thank you. Well, I see there's a lot of interest in the 4 things we're going to be covering in the class, so you've all come to the right place. About half of you want to learn how to get out and stay out of debt. I presume it's 100% of you want to get out and stay out of debt, but maybe only some of you have debt. Half of you want to learn about budgeting and saving more. Well, today's session will cover the first 2 topics. And then the future, investing for my future and achieving financial freedom. That's what we're going to be talking about in session 2. So again, 2 sessions, and by the end of this, you will have answers to everything on this sheet. So hang with me for 2 90-minute sessions. Welcome to Understanding Money, Financial Literacy for All for free. As Katralia said, there is no cost to this. A little more about that in a moment. But first, the homework assignment that you heard about, and I hope you all did. You were all asked to fill out what we called the network worksheet, which is simply a fancy name for adding up all you own, what assets that you have, and subtracting all that you owe, any debt that you have. And then you were asked to do a monthly budget, take stock of all the money you have coming in and all the money you have going out, and are you saving anything? And so our next polling question is not about numbers. Like Katralia says, we're keep those things very, very private. But just thinking about your own current money situation, how are you feeling? And so on this poll, actually, on the version I got, it doesn't show the choices. Maybe it does on your end. I hope it does. Yes, it does. I'm sorry, it does. Okay, so whether are you anxious, confused, pretty okay, or good but could be better? If everybody would please answer. And we should tell you these polling questions, like that old TV commercial about Las Vegas, are completely anonymous. What goes in the computer stays in the computer. Nobody on this call, including Andrea, Cortrelia, or me, will know what you answered. So please be honest. Answer the questions as quickly as you can. And Katrelia, I can't see the percent response rate, so I guess I'll rely on you to close it out when you see we have enough.
Okay, we're at 81%.
Okay, we hope everybody, remember this is painless. We want you to be interactive, like Katrelia said. It'll keep you more engaged. Listen to me yammer on for an hour and a half. So you can close and share whenever you'd like. Okay, so we have a small group in the anxious category, which I'll talk about in a moment. One of the biggest categories is confused or don't know where to start. And you'll see my joke throughout the 2 sessions is that's why we call it understanding money. Chances are we didn't learn this stuff at home. We didn't learn it in school. So what keeps me in air quotes employed, because I'm retired, but what keeps me busy in retirement is teaching this so you do know where to start. We have a small group, 15% in the pretty okay, and then about half of you, which is pretty good, are in the good category. But our collective goal is at the end of these 2 sessions, everybody is in the very good category. That's our goal. But again, thank you all for answering that, and there are plenty more of these throughout the session. So I talked up front, whether your first choice was anxiety. I get that, and I get the confusion part too. Money can seem that way. I want you to relax and understand that we're going to keep this very easy. Okay? You do not have to have a degree in math. You do not have to understand anything about finance. We speak in just plain language, no jargon, and I promise we're going to keep it really simple. In just 2 sessions, my goal is that at the end of that, you will be able to utter 4 magic words to yourself. I can do this. Okay? Financial empowerment. And importantly, as part of that, not have to pay someone else to do it for you. Okay? That you will be able to competently and confidently handle your money on your own. Now, you heard that I don't sell any product. My joke here is if you do nothing I recommend, I make $0. But if you do everything I recommend, I also make $0. All I do is give advice that you're free to listen to or ignore. It is your money. But at least you'll never think throughout the course, well, I wonder, is he saying that because he wants to earn a commission, a fee, a kickback or something? No. I've achieved the serenity of being able to retire with dignity. And it's my purpose in life now to pay that forward and teach other people to do the same. And I do it for no compensation whatsoever. Now, how's this going to work? Well, it's going to be a little bit of a team sport. I'm going to do the things on the left. You're going to do the things on the right. First, I'm going to walk with you every step of the way. And then, as Cotrelia alluded to up front, in return for attending the classes, you will be able to schedule private, confidential, free Zooms with me to discuss your own personal money situation. We understand that money's a very private thing. You're not going to want to share stuff in front of your fellow guild members. We get that. And so this will give you the opportunity to do so just with me. And then your role, where you see this little toolbox, I don't mind asking you to, this is a code for work. I ask you to put in just a little bit of effort because what the heck, it's your life savings, right? And where you see this link, that will take you to outside resources that you can read about on your own. So with that, we will get into the course. We're going to cover 4 things today. First, some definitions. What is financial freedom in your big why dream? And then looking at your current money situation, what you're doing with the cash that you have and how to handle it as wisely as possible. Then debt and credit cards and credit scores and how they all relate together. And then everything you'd like to know about saving, either to get out of debt if you're in debt, and then to begin to invest to achieve that generational wealth that Andrea mentioned up front. So, what exactly is financial freedom? It's the ability to walk away from your job. Now, you may all love what you do as guild members. You may want to stay doing what you're doing into your 60s or 70s, in which case I salute you. But the point is, imagine if you had enough money set aside that you didn't have to work any longer and that you could begin to live whatever dream you have for your future. I call that dream your big why. It's the answer to the rhetorical questions you may ask. Well, why would I get out of debt as quickly as I could? Why will I not spend every dollar that I have uh, and avoid immediate gratification and put away money for my future? Why would I play the long game and say this thing is so important to me that I'm going to save money for it? And that's what I call your big why. That future life you want to live, it's the reason, it's the why you would save and invest. And so we're going to talk about that now, again, with no numbers, okay? Just dreaming your big wide dream. And to be completely transparent, this is something that's not going to happen tomorrow. I realize because a lot of you have to first get out of debt and save way more. But because it's something down the road, I have no problem asking you to dream big because big things are worth waiting for, right? Well, these are some thought bubbles of big wide dreams that other students and working adults and other organizations have mentioned in my previous classes. You will see they are all over the map. Okay, there's no right or wrong answer. And so in our next polling question, we're going to ask you to just type a few words or phrases that would encapsulate your big wide dream or dreams. Again, you don't have to choose from this page, right? It's whatever's personal, whatever speaks to you. And so we're going to raise that next polling question, and then you share those big wide dreams with us. And then Cotrelia will read them back to us without saying who said what. Okay, so just take a few seconds to think about it. Close your eyes. Think about, hey, I've always wanted to do XYZ if I had enough money. And please share those. And again, Cotrelia, because I'm not able to see the progress, I'm going to have to rely on you if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's very unusual. I usually see it, but for some reason I don't.
So far we have 2, 3,
Okay.
4. Yeah, they're coming in.
All right. Remember, this is painless, everybody. This is part of the participation we want to see from everyone. We want to hear about those beautiful dreams.
Coming pretty well here.
Okay.
We're at 70%. Let's give it a few more.
Okay. And just pretend this is a speed test when you were growing up and when your elementary school teacher said, you only have 5 more seconds. And then there should be a button where you can view results.
Yeah,
It's a little tricky, but hopefully you'll be able to see them.
I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll.
Okay. And then you may have to close out of the slides, but there should be a view results button somewhere. I hope.
Says share the results, but you don't want me to do that.
Well, because then we'd be sharing what everybody said.
Exactly.
Maybe what we do, I'm just thinking as a plan B.
Here we go. View
Oh,
results.
terrific. Okay, let's hear.
Let's see. Trying to see if it shows me the answers, unfortunately. Well, I see Andrea's in the chat.
Well,
Andrea,
that can be the plan B. If everybody just types a note to Katrelia in the chat, it's the same thing. If you're not able to see them.
yeah, no, it's not allowing me
Oh,
to.
I'm sorry about that. We have technical things. This
Yeah.
question can be a problem. But if you just take what you just wrote and write it to her privately in the chat, that would be great.
So far, we have own a home,
Uh-huh.
peace of mind, leave generational wealth,
Yes.
travel,
Ah,
just freedom and discipline, own
okay.
a business, uh, have some comfy space to breathe and have something to land on. Home improvement. Oh, yeah.
Ah, okay.
Generous retirement, sustain adult kids. Yeah.
Okay.
Own my own home,
Mhm.
okay, and do the passion, financial freedom to do whatever I choose.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wow.
those are all beautiful, big, wide dreams. And I'm sure Katrelia and Andrea share in my dream for you is that you'll look back sometime in the future and say, you know, that class I took back in April of 2025, that gave me the foundation through the staff guild to be able to realize these dreams. So here's your first piece of homework. We want you to give it a little more thought than you did today, because I know I snuck up on you, and a big, wide dream should take, you really need to think about it. And I want you to write it down. I want you to put it on a sticky note and put it on your refrigerator, put it on your mirror. If you have a vehicle, put it on the dashboard, only to be looked at when you're
Mm.
stopped. Okay. Word it any way you want. The way I worded mine was, I want to achieve financial freedom by the time I am, and then you fill in whatever age speaks to you. So I can, and then whatever your big Y goal or goals are. Okay. When you do that, two things happen. And this is why it's so important to write it down. First, you make it more concrete. It's something that you stare in the face every day. And before you go out and make a big purchase, you go, wait a minute, wait a minute, time out, time out. I've got that big white dream. I'm going to resist here. Okay. The second reason we want you to write it down is so you take personal, notice the word personal here is in italics for emphasis. You'll take personal financial responsibility for achieving those big wide dreams. Why is personal financial responsibility so important? Because in my game, or in my mind, you're the only person you can rely on. On the next page, however, we're going to look at all the ways you wouldn't have to take personal financial responsibility and see how realistic they are for you. Okay? So the first one, Social Security, which my understanding is there's no, you do not receive Social Security as part of the staff guild membership. Is that correct? You are not part of Social Security.
As an employee of the Los Angeles Community College District, yes, we would be able to, if we have our 40 quarters, I mean, our 4 quarters, yes, our credits, and
Then you do qualify. Okay.
we do
But then
qualify.
ask yourself, okay, I wasn't sure that everybody would get it, so I wanted to be careful with that.
Mhm.
But ask yourself, those big wide dreams that you have, buying a home, helping your family, the travel and all that, could you do that on less than $2,000 a month? Okay. Chances are the answer is, yeah, I need more than that. Or number two, isn't it true you don't expect to inherit a fortune, right? I didn't hear any Jeff Bezos people on the phone, right? If anything, you want to help your own family. Number three, isn't it true? I can't count on winning the lottery, right? That's a 1 in 50 million chance. Pension from my employer. Yes, if you stay long enough, you will get a pension from the union, but you may say, I want to have even more money than that. And then lastly, my name isn't Shakira, LeBron James, or Jennifer Lawrence, just someone who made so many gazillion dollars that they don't have to sweat retirement. So my guess is most of you are going to answer yes, 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 yes on this sheet, meaning you have to save extra money on the side and get out of debt. And so that's our next polling question. When you answer yes, it means you have to take personal financial responsibility. And when you say no, it means no, I don't have to worry about it. My future's secure. Okay? So a simple yes or no. Yes, it's on me, and no, I'm all set.
About 70% there.
Okay? And please, everybody, remember I said anonymous and painless. Please, please join in. And this way we have a more accurate read on our guild members if everybody participates. And so what did we learn, Katrelia?
Let me share it for you.
Okay? Well, big surprise, right? Like, this is pretty much what I see in all my classes, right? Nobody's got the silver spoon, right? And that's why it's so cool that you all showed up. So thank you for that. And so you are the ones that are responsible. And so this class isn't just some nice thing to take out an hour and a half out of your day. It has the potential to be life-changing. So bravo to you for showing up. So what are we going to do now? We're going to rewind from this future and get practical. We're going to rewind to today, to where we stand today with money. And we're going to talk about first about cash. And you're probably wondering when I say, what is cash for? Like, who is this guy? Of course I know what cash is for. But hang with me. There may be some uses of cash that you haven't thought about. Then how to best handle the cash that you have. And to be clear, I don't literally mean only the cash in your wallet or purse. I mean any money you have in checking, saving, investing, whatever. How to best handle that money. And then the two homework assignments. How much money do you have, subtracting what you owe from what you owe, and your monthly budget. So first, what is cash for? This first one is like your no duh. You're saying, yeah, 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 I get that. You use cash to buy stuff and pay your bills, right? And we're going to talk about that in today's session. Your second use of cash, depending on where you stand in this financial journey, is using cash to get out of debt. The third use of cash is saving up for what's called an emergency fund. Can somebody come off mute and share with the group what they think the definition is of an emergency fund?
I'd say for us, it'd be being able to live for 6 months in case we become unemployed.
Gotcha. And James is exactly right. He's so advanced, though, he's jumped to session two. But let me explain. First, he's exactly right. It's to cover stuff that you can't cover if you don't have the money, right? You have your car breaks down. Did you have money set aside for that or not? Or a job loss, like what he was just talking about. It's the difference between saying, okay, I'm not thrilled that this disaster happened, but thank goodness I have the money, versus, oh my gosh, I don't have the money. I got to go borrow on a credit card and go into debt and pay $1 billion in interest. Now, we're going to talk about two levels of emergency fund in the class. A small one when you're starting out and have debt, and then next week, a bigger one like what James was talking about. And then your final use of cash, call it the bonus round. Once you've paid your monthly bills, once you've gotten out of debt, and once you've saved an emergency fund, your next use of cash is using it to invest for your financial freedom. And our next session is all about that, everything you want to know about investing. So, how to handle the cash you have now. I'm going to divide you into one of two groups. You either look at your bank account and all the cash you have on hand that you can get to is hundreds of dollars or 1,000, maybe 2,000. We'll call that group one. And group two is anybody who has more than that. Okay? If you're in group one, the only account you need right now is a checking account. Just like the course, I said we keep the course simple. I keep the financial advice simple. Don't complicate it by having a bunch of accounts. You just need to have a checking account. My only watch out is make sure it is an account that is fee free, meaning you're not paying a monthly fee for the checking and or you are not paying a fee every time you use an ATM. So a quick show of hands. I'm not asking how much money or how often. Is anybody right now paying on their checking account, either a monthly fee or regularly using ATMs where they're getting a $3 to $5 haircut every time they take money out of the machine? Is anybody in that group? Okay, I will assume you're all not being shy. Bravo, you can skip that homework assignment. If you all have free checking right now and free ATMs, bravo, you're very wise with your money. Okay, step two. For those of you who are blessed with more resources and you have more than a couple $1,000s, then I want you to open a second account called a high yield savings account. Once again, audience participation. Can somebody share with the group what a high yield savings account is? Anyone?
I'll do that if I know
Sure.
Andrea has actually set up our union with
Oh,
so she should actually respond to that.
go for it.
Well, way to put me on the spot there with a shout out and a throw out there. Yeah, I think what a high interest yielding a savings account for us, we were able to get it locked in at 4.9%. And moving our assets into it, it allowed it to generate roughly anywhere between $6,000 to $7,000 a month in just passive income.
Well, okay, I am blown away by that because, first of all, she's exactly right. And I don't teach, all my other classes are not with the staff guild. So I encourage people to go to this online resource to find banks. None of them, repeat, none of them are paying as well as your bank is. So that's fantastic. So listen to Andrea. And for any of you who have extra money, do not leave it in your checking account. Do not leave it in your local bank savings account, because if you're like my bank, they're paying 1 penny per $100 per year, basically nothing, 1 penny. Your bank is paying $4.90. I think we can all agree that $4.90 is better than 1 penny. So move for anybody who's in that category, your piece of homework is go online through whatever union website you have and link to that bank and put the money in that high yield saving. Any questions on that? Okay.
I have a comment.
Oh, please, yes, sure, go ahead.
So we do have an official credit union
Yep.
for staff guild members, but for LACCD and LAUSD is called Schools Federal Credit Union. They have a summer savings account that I just signed up for. It is paying at 6.69, I think, percent. Don't quote me on that, but I know it's over 6%.
Yes.
And the money is transferred into your checking account in July, so that you can use it for the summer and for anything else. And then they started back up in August, which I will this year jump on that, but it's a great way to save as well.
I love that. And obviously 6 point something is even higher than 4.9. But either way, you guys are so lucky. No other group I teach has those rates. So just do what my simple-minded suggestion, chase the high rate. Put the money where you're going to earn the most money. But thank you for sharing that. That's fantastic.
Lisa Chen has her hand raised.
Oh, please, Lisa, come off mute and go for it.
Hi, so I just had a quick question regarding the high yield savings account.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you're going to get to it at the end. So it's different from a regular savings, right? Because I just heard Andrea say something crazy like 6%, because right now I have it in a account, but I think it's only giving me 4.
Yes,
So
the banks that I'm going to give you on Bankrate that you'll go to when you click on this link after class, they are all paying like 4.3, maybe 4.5. That's why remember my reaction when I heard what you folks have been earning, how 6% or whatever is way higher than what I've heard. But there's really no difference. It's maybe because of some special relationship that the guild has with the bank, you folks were able to get a higher rate. But for normal people like me, we can't do better than 4 point something right now.
okay, thank you for answering that.
Sure, but great question. And please, everybody else, like we said at the beginning, don't be shy. If you have questions, chances are anything you want to know, your fellow guild members want to know about as well. So please don't wait until the end. Ask them as they come up. Okay, your next thing was your homework assignment, your net worth, right? What you own, subtracting from it what you owe. And just simple math, if you own more than you owe, you have a positive net worth, right? But if you owe more than you own, you have a negative net worth. Now, to be clear, I'm not talking about you as people. You are all, I'm sure, wonderful people with an infinitely positive personal net worth as human beings. But financially, you're underwater, right? If you owe more than you own, you're in debt to the tune of whatever that number is. Anybody who's in that category, remember I said at the beginning about the anxious and confused and whatever, please don't beat yourself up about this. Nobody's going to give you a hard time in the class. Plenty of people have debt. We're going to show you a way out, okay? But our goal in the no duh category is to have everybody get to the point where they don't owe anything and they have a lot of money set aside for their big why. And that brings us to our next polling question. On the continuum between a lot of debt and a lot of savings, answer the following polling question about where you are. And you define in your own head what a lot or a little means. Okay? So answer one, which of these 4 things is the closest to the way you feel right now? I've got a lot of debt. I have a little debt. I'm kind of at break even where I don't owe a lot, but I don't own a lot. Or then where we want everybody, the platinum level, I have no debt and a lot of savings. Okay? Everybody please answer that. And once again, I have to rely on my able co-host and partner here to close it when she thinks it's right.
You're at 63%.
Okay, come on, you folks. Remember, extra brownie points if if you all participate.
Question, Mr. Bruce.
Of course,
Does a CD account keep the rate? Because like with the high interest yielding savings account, that
yes,
rate can change at any time.
you
But
are correct.
okay,
But
just figuring out how to lock it in.
oh, well, okay. Again, Andrea is so advanced, she's getting to the fancier stuff. But did you mention CD, did I hear?
I did.
Okay, let me explain to the group because that may be beyond the everybody else's knowledge right now. A CD is a savings account where, as Andrea just said, you're locking your money in. Now, the good news with it is it typically pays more interest. The bad news is there's a penalty if you take the money out before the end of the term. Excuse me. As of right now, CDs have no advantage. They are not paying any better interest than an account where you can take the money out tomorrow. So my counsel to any of you is, again, don't be embarrassed if you have a CD. I just wouldn't renew it. Just keep your money in a high yield savings account. Okay, but thanks for bringing that up. And here's where we are. About 70% of you have some level of debt, okay, from a lot to a little. I've had classes, by the way, where that is as high as 85% of the people. Now, obviously, you don't really care, right? If you're in debt, you don't care what the other numbers are. I fully get the financial strain you're probably feeling. You may have seen in my bio that when I graduated from school, I had student debt and very little money to my name. And so we're going to help you. And then that group, there's about 18% that are breaking even, which is great, but obviously you want to have more. And then only a small group, 12%, who have no debt and a lot of savings. But I keep repeating myself, but that's why this course is so important, because everybody wants to move down this page into this last group. But again, thank you for that. Your next piece of homework was your monthly budget. And it's a simple yes or no question we're about to ask. There was a section on that budget called savings and debt repayment. And we want a simple yes or no. Do you have money left at the end of the month to apply against debt or savings? Or that's a yes. And a no means you have too much month left at the end of your money, meaning you don't have money to put against savings or debt. So again, for that no category, don't stress. Remember, we're going to help you, but we want to see where everybody is today. So next polling question, a yes means you have money left at the end of the month to begin to make progress against debt and your emergency fund and investing. And no means no, I'm pretty tapped out by the end of the month. Once again, for anybody who joined a bit late, these are completely confidential, anonymous. Nobody's going to know what you said. Not even Andrea or Catrilia or me. So please be honest, yes or no.
We're at about 73% and still moving.
Okay. And our results.
Here you go.
Okay. Well, the good news here, again, not to discount the people in the 25% category, but the good news is 3/4 of you have some extra cash at the end of the month to begin to make progress. But here's an even better news for all of you. I promise that by the end of this session, you will all have more money to put against this category than you do right now. Okay? By the end of this hour and a half, you're going to have more money. Or actually, you won't have more money, but you'll find a way to save more money from the money you do have, if that makes sense. So we talked about the dream. The rest of today is all about debt and saving, and I can boil it all down into one sentence. The magic, and it's really not magic, the magic to getting out of debt and saving is in one sentence, living on less than you make. That's all you have to remember. And I will dramatize it with my hands. Here's your income. Here's your expenses. As long as what you're living on, this number here, is higher than what you're spending, then you have a gap here. Okay? You're living on less than you make. You're down here. This money here gives you the breathing space to either work off debt or to begin to save. And that's what we're going to talk about today, the debt part and the savings part. And then in the second session, once you're out of debt, we talk about taking all that extra money and investing for your future. So first, what is debt? Okay? And what are the different kinds? And how does a credit score relate to debt? And what is what I call a debt-free mindset? First, what is debt? It's money you've borrowed from some person or entity, a government, a company, a college, whatever. When you've borrowed money, I hate to break it to you, you already know this, but you have to pay it back. You have a moral and a financial obligation to do so. Two buckets you have to pay back. The amount you borrowed, which is called principal. So you have a credit card, you charge $50. That's a principal balance of $50. The second bucket you have to pay back are the fees that the lender puts on top of that first bucket. Those fees are called interest, and they're stated in the term called annual percentage rate. It's abbreviated APR. You'll see it on your credit card bill, auto loan, whatever. And it's simply a matter of how expensive the loan is. The higher the APR, the higher the interest rate. So easy math example, you have a $100 principal loan of some kind. You're paying 6% APR. That means 6% interest or $6 a year for every $100 you borrowed. Okay? And remember, we haven't had a lot of questions, but don't be shy. If you have questions as we go through this, please interrupt me. I insist. We welcome the questions. So these are all the different kinds of debt you can get involved with. I heard a lot of people talk about the dream of owning a home. Well, you'll see here on this line here that the interest rate on a home loan is pretty low. And as you climb across the page, the interest rates get higher and higher on the loan category to a high. By the way, this is not a typo. 400% interest on one of those at one of those check cashing places. Okay, please stay away from them. Now you might be asking yourself, why do interest rates vary so widely from under 7 to 400%? The answer lies in this last row called security. Once again, audience participation. Can someone come off mute and share what they think that term means? What does security means when you've taken out a loan or have some debt of some kind? Have you heard that term before? The security on a loan.
I could say something simple.
Sure, James. Yes.
So I want to if I want to if I want to buy a car, um, my security is going to be possibly two things from the bank, but they're going to say that car has value. So down the road, you've paid into it.
Yes.
And if you decide you don't want to pay or can't pay, then they take the car away, they sell the car, and they take their security amount.
James is exactly right. Another one of our honor students in the staff guild. He's precisely right. Security is simply what the lender can take from you if you flake and stop paying. Now, on a home, because homes are worth a lot of money and they know they can sell it to pay back their mortgage, it's not much of a risk for the bank, so they don't charge much money. But out here at this end, you go ring up a bill on a credit card and buy a bunch of clothing or take a trip or food. There's nothing the bank can take. Notice down here it says security, none and none. So those loans are much riskier to the bank, which is why they charge way, 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 way more interest than on a loan where the thing you borrowed against was secured. There's something the bank can take. Okay, so just keep that in mind as you look at interest rates. They can vary widely depending on how much risk there is when you stop paying. Okay, credit scores and how they relate to credit card debt and loan debt in general. First, what is a credit score? It's a measure of how credit worthy you are. And then you're going to say, okay, what's that mean? It simply means statistically how likely you are to pay any debt that you have. The scores range kind of like the SATs, if you ever looked at those, whether you took them or not, from a low of 300 to a high of 850. Here's a good rule of thumb. You want to have your number begin with a 7 or an 8. That's the headline. A score in the 700s is good, in the 750s, very good, and above that, excellent. Your credit score, a synonym for it is FICO or FICO score. Quick show of hands. Has anybody ever heard that term? What's your FICO? What's your FICO score? Anybody? Is that a term people have said to you?
Yes.
Okay, so we have just one person who's heard of it. But when you hear that term, you just go, yeah, it means credit score. Well, here's one of those links I talked about. When you click on this link, it'll take you to a website where the 3 companies that give you a score will run your score, okay? They will be clustered. They each have their own secret formulas, so it won't be identical. But if you're high on one, you'd be high on the other 2. So don't check them all at one time because you only get one chance a year. But that's a way to look at your score. You may also bank at a place, or maybe your credit union through the staff guild offers it, where you can check more than once a year. But here's a very interesting thing. For anybody who hasn't ever had any debt, and it seems like very few of you, but I'm going to state this anyway. If you've never borrowed money from anybody, never had a credit card, you're like a snowbank where you haven't taken any footsteps. It's like there's no trace of you there. Your score will not be 300 and it will not be 0. You will be, to use a millennial term of the day, ghosted. When you run your credit score, it'll say indeterminate, meaning they don't have any data on you. I'll explain why there's nothing to be ashamed about that in a moment. But a ghosted score is infinitely better than a 300. It's just as good as a 7 or an 800. So just keep that in mind. You do not need a credit score. But if you're going to have one, it must begin with a 7 or an 8. Now, relating credit scores to debt. I'm going to start by debunking a myth some of you may have heard. Has any well-intentioned friend, neighbor, whatever, ever said the following to you? Oh, you want to know how to build a great credit score? You go get a credit card, you borrow a bunch of money, you go into debt, you pay the thing off over time, you pay the interest over time. Oh, that's the way to build a good credit score. Has anybody, again, show of hands, has anybody ever heard words to that effect? You go into debt to build a credit score. Anybody? I see one hand, two hands. Okay, looks like just a couple of you. You hang out with wiser people than most of my classes. But I'm here today to tell you, you could tell in the tone of my voice and calling it a myth, that that is complete nonsense. Okay? I'm going to share how to build a great credit score and then share my own numbers in a moment because I don't mind sharing my own personal stuff while we don't want you to share yours. First, you make your loan payments on time and you make at least the minimum monthly payment. If you pay late, or if you don't pay at all, or if you pay less than the minimum, that's going to trash your score. Number two, you pay your loans off quickly. Back to using my hands. Here's your income, here's your debt. As your debt goes down, look what happens. The debt is a smaller and smaller percentage of your income, so you look less and less risky because you have more and more cash left to pay the remaining debt. Number three, you pay your credit card off in full every month without fail. We'll talk about more about that in a little while. And then this last one, you never use more than 30% of your credit limit. Example, your credit card lets you charge $1,000. Never go above $300 because that's 30%. If you're about to go above $300, you lower the water in the bathtub. You make a payment to the bank to drop below 30%. Why is that important? Again, with my hands. When you're at 30%, the bank thinks you look pretty okay. But when it climbs to 60%, 90%, the banks get all wigged out and think, uh-oh, this person's getting close to their limit. I don't know if they're going to pay. So you outfake the bank. You never go above 30%. You keep the water in the tub at 30% or less anytime during the month. Any questions on that? And now sharing my own story to prove to you that what I just said is true. I have one credit card. I have no other debt, period. I pay it off in full every month. I have never paid $1 in interest. The last time I looked at my score, it was over 800. Now, to be completely open here, another factor in your credit score is your history with the company, where you get brownie points for being with them a long time. I've probably been with my credit place way longer than most of you, so that gives me extra points. But as long as you are patient and you do what I said and you get your debt paid off and you pay on time and so on, you will have, and you have not defaulted on payments because that's going to trash your score, you will have a perfectly fine score. Next, how should you feel about your score? People tend to overblow the importance of a credit score, okay? It has extremely limited value if you want to listen to the principles in my class. Here are the limited values. One, it'll make it easier for me to get the only debt I find acceptable in life, which is a home mortgage, because homes are so gosh darn expensive. Almost nobody can afford to pay cash, so I have no problem having any of us go into debt to buy a home. The second thing, a potential landlord may look at your credit score. Employer, you don't have to worry about it because you're in a fine job now, but a landlord may look at your score. But here's the really neat thing. Remember I mentioned about the ghosted thing. You can buy a house, you can get an apartment, and you can get a job with a ghosted score. I'll just use the landlord as the example. They run your score and they go, hey, you were ghosted. And then you go, yeah, that means I never borrow money from anybody. That means I have no debt. That means I have my whole paycheck available to pay your rent. So I'm way better to rent to. So just keep that in mind. You need to be in the 7 or 8s if you have a score, but if you don't have a score, you can have a perfectly fine life with a Zippo nothing ghosted score. The unwise way to look at your score. well, I need to go into debt to boost my credit score so I can get a higher credit limit to borrow more money for things other than a home, to go deeper into debt, to raise my score, to borrow. I hope you get the idea. That's a vicious cycle. Please don't do that. We now have a polling question. I hope everybody understands now the wise and the unwise ways to build your credit score. This is a simple yes or no. Do we now get it? I hope everybody's in the yes. And if anybody's in the no, no problem at all. That's something we can explore more fully in one of my private free sessions. So a quick yes or no, everybody. We got to move this along.
We're at about 85%.
Okay, and drum roll, please. How did we do? I love it. You're all listening. You're my honor students, staff guild members. You're fantastic. Thank you for that. Okay. So I want everybody, particularly that group, the folks over 50% of you who have some debt. I'm going to say for the second time, I'm giving you grace on this. There is no shame to where you are today. I'm not going to give you a hard time, but just like eating more healthfully or going to the gym, I like to joke that behavioral change requires us to change our behavior. So what I'm about to suggest will be a fundamental shift in mindset versus where you've been up until now. I just hope you'll work with me and accept this with the grace with which it is given. Pinky swear the following to yourself and say it as often as necessary until you believe it. If I can't afford to pay cash for something, I can't afford it. If I can't afford to pay cash for something, I can't afford it. So you don't give yourself a hard time for any hole you've dug in debt so far, but you draw a line and say, enough, I'm going to stop, I'm going to get this debt paid off. And so for that group, your goal is to get it paid off as quickly as you can without any anger, shame, or regret. And for those of you who are already out of debt, you vow to never ever go back or never start, if you never had debt, with the one exception, a home mortgage, because of what I said about houses being expensive. Now, your way out of debt or your way into investing, the answers to how to get there are the same in all caps: save, save, save. And so the rest of today's session is all about the what, the how much, the when, and how. These are the tips to make it easier to save. We will start with the what. For those of you who are in debt, remember I alluded up front that we have a small emergency fund that I'd like you to save up for today, because it's a terrible situation where you look at your bank account at the end of the month and you have no margin for error. So anybody in this category, your goal is to put away at least $1,000. It won't cover everything, but at least it's some money there for an emergency. Then you put everything else that you have against your debt, okay? And after you're debt free, excluding a house, because I know they take forever to pay off, but once you've gotten rid of any other kind of debt that you have, then you start investing, okay? Class number 2. For those of you who are out of debt, then like James talked about earlier, you build a bigger emergency fund like we'll talk about next week, and you begin to invest. How much should I save? Well, your goal is at least 15% of your income before taxes. Again, an easy math example. You're making $40,000 a year. 6% of that is, 15% of that is $6,000. So for those of you who are in debt, you'd be using the $6,000 to whittle down the debt. For those of you who are out of debt, you'd be using the 6 to boost your emergency fund and to begin to invest.
Can
Now,
you say that again, Bruce, that calculation?
sure, of course. Thank you, because I know I'm clipping through it. Thank you for stopping me. I love it. You're making $40,000 a year pre-tax. 15% of 40,000 is $6,000. $500 a month. It's the reason I use the example. It's a nice, easy one. You would be putting aside $250 out of each paycheck, either against debt or savings. Was that clear?
Yes.
Terrific. Now, the union gets a raise. okay? And you're making more money. Just pretend that happened. So you were at 40 and you got a raise to 42, just to pick a number. On the day you got that raise, your rent didn't go up, all your other expenses didn't go up. You have $2,000 in gravy because remember, we've been living on less than we make. We've been living on the 40. So with that extra $2,000, you can spend and enjoy some of it. You can give some of it, but you can save way more than 15% of the new money because you've been living on the old money. Okay? When to start? Well, it's never too late. Okay? I've had people in my class that are in their well into their senior years and are just starting. But obviously, the earlier you start, the way the math works, the earlier you get out of debt, right? And the earlier you start saving and investing. But the really neat thing is the earlier you start, the less you need to save each month to hit a saving goal. Okay. Now, unlike Katreya, we're not using a billionaire here. We're going to only go with $1 million. But you remember years ago, there was that TV show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? So I use that number because it's just a nice round number. And we're going to use 65, the traditional retirement age. This chart shows how much you'd need to salt away each month, starting at 5-year increments in age at a very conservative growth rate on your money to be a guaranteed millionaire by 65. For anybody in their 20s, it's $381 a month. As you get older, though, as you'll see, the number gets higher because you have fewer years for your money to build. But long story short, if you want to save a $500,000, you cut these numbers in half, okay? But the point of this chart is whatever amount of money you want to save, the earlier you start, the more accessible the savings number will be. Anybody have a question on this? It's called the miracle of compound interest because it means you make money on your money and then the earnings that you have, you make money on that and it just explodes to where you save a lot of money over time. Any questions on this?
I have a question. So
Please, yeah.
say if I am to save this amount of money, would this be going into a high interest yielding savings account? Would any of this money be used to take care of some of the debt or whittle away at it? Or this is just what I need to put in savings, not even thinking about what I would be putting to whittle away debt?
Yeah, great question, Andre. And you had a couple points in there. Remember, let me start, try to kind of divide what you said into a couple things because they were all very, very good questions. Remember what I said, we get the debt paid off first. Otherwise, what you're doing is I'm staying into debt to try to invest, okay? I don't recommend doing that. You get the debt cleaned away first, other than the home, like I keep saying, because homes take a long time to pay off. All right, so that's step one. Pretend we are out of debt other than our home. This thing is built on a 7%. You'll see here at the bottom, a 7% growth rate. That's way more than on a savings account, but it's less than the 10% the stock market has earned over 100 years. So this is assuming that you invest the way we talk about next week. Okay? Was that clear? You
Lisa
got
has her hand up.
Lisa, please.
Hi, so I heard you mention that we're going to talk about this next week because your chart is very clear. It's just I'm wondering for the 7% where
Yeah.
that would be. So would that be a next week question that
Yes,
you will?
yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
But I'll just quickly say, the stock market has earned 10% a year for 100 years on average, okay? When I built the chart, I didn't want to assume that you'd make exactly what the stock market has earned over 100 years. So I built the chart much more conservatively using only 7. These numbers of what you'd earn or what you'd have to put away, either way, would be much less if you were earning 10% than 7. But since I can't promise it, I wanted to be very conservative. Does that make sense?
Yeah. My other question, sorry if I'm going a
No,
little bit
no,
off.
no.
So you're saying the stock market, right? But the stock market is volatile, right? So
Yes, yes.
if you're saving, it's not always on average, is it average 7% you'll get, or do you are you suggesting put it in something that will be guarantee you get 7% all the time?
No, there's nothing that guarantees 7. I'm suggesting, well, I'll share next week what I'm suggesting, but I'm suggesting that because you're putting the money, you are correct that the amount of money you'll earn every year will be very different than the average, because some years it'll be better than worse, right? But we'll talk
Correct.
about next week how to handle that over time. But yes, we're talking about something, we're not talking about savings accounts here, because you can't earn that kind of money in a savings account. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, the rest of today is all about tips to make it easier to save. And I realize, remember I said a little bit of work on your part, but remember your big why. Anything worth doing is worth putting a little bit of effort. I promise this will be easier than any of your work as a staff guild member. So let's get into them. The first one, it's got the word first in it, so that's why I put it first. It's called Pay Myself First. Can anybody come off mute and share what they think that saving strategy means? Has anybody ever heard that? Pay myself first. Anyone? And take a shot if you
The
just
first thing you would do would be to put your money in the savings account before you did anything else?
Bingo, Cassandra, another honor student from the Staff Guild. Yes, ding, 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 yes, yes. Here's the way most of us learn to save. We took our income, we subtracted our expenses, and what was left was our savings. But I put here, no. Why? Because for most of us, by the time we subtract our expenses, there's very little left for savings. So we're going to do what the genius suggestion was from Cassandra. We're going to flip the last 2 words. We're going to take the savings right off the top. Right off the top. Notice, emphatic yes. You're going to begin with the homework assignment I'm going to give you to treat savings almost like it's a bill. And so you're going to budget 15% of your paycheck, if you're not already doing it, 15% of your paycheck before taxes. Remember I said our 40,000 person, that'd be $250 per paycheck. We're going to earmark that for savings, either to put against debt or to invest. That's step 1. That's simple mindset change. We're going to start treating our own future more importantly than we have been by making it our first priority. Step 2.
Can I ask a question from
Yes,
you?
Jane. Yes, yes.
So for the folks that are, well, we all are working for LACCD.
Yes. Yep.
We get 7% taken out of our paycheck towards our retirement.
Yes.
When we start calculating the 15%,
Yes.
are we going above and beyond that 7?
Yes, yeah, because not trying to be a wiseacre, but yes, 15 is more than 7. And so what I want you to do is at minimum another 8, because 7 plus 8 equals 15.
That's what I wanted to confirm. Yeah.
Yes, but
Thank you.
I wasn't aware that you had a mandatory 7 in your plan. But yeah, that's the goal. And if you can do more than 8, bravo. The old joke, how much should I put aside? Well, how wealthy do you want to be? But I'm trying to, when money is tight, and I know, none of us is earning Wall Street salaries here, that we shoot for 15 total, but the first 7 counts. Okay? Good, great question. Okay, step 2, that written budget thing that we talked
Andrea
about.
has her hand up.
Oh, yes,
Sorry,
please.
Bruce.
No,
I
no,
didn't know.
no, sorry. No, this is
Okay.
good.
So the district is taking out 7% of our check immediately to go into, what were you saying, Philip? 7%
Pension.
goes to
Goes into
pension?
CalPERS.
And see, I need to understand that as well. So it goes into that. So you say take out 15% after taxes. So then I would look at what
No, before.
before
Notice I
taxes.
say here 15% before. So I'm
Okay,
not asking anybody what they earn, but that's why I keep using my 40,000
got
pre-tax.
it. Okay,
So you calculate, I don't know if the 7 is pre-tax or post-tax, but you just figure out whatever 15 is of your gross,
gross. Okay,
track what's going into CalPERS, and put the rest aside in the budget that you're doing. Okay.
got it.
So I could
Got
add
it.
to it's 7% of your gross.
Oh, terrific. So that makes it easier.
And of course, and the thing he hadn't talked about is protected from taxes.
Gotcha. Okay. But everybody got that? So to keep it in simple language for the rest of you, your goal is to put aside another 8. Everybody got that? This is a great discussion. Okay. So you're going to go do budget 2.0, meaning your next round. And what, obviously I typed this before I just learned what you just said. You're going to put at least 8% in that section called savings and debt repayment. And then we're going to budget the remaining money that you have for everything else. Now, take a good look at the budget template we gave you after class. You will see that it didn't alphabetize your expenses. It had a group of needs at the top and a group of wants at the bottom. My contention to you is that you have at most only 6 needs in your budget. And we're going to play a quick game to see how quickly you folks can name the 6 needs we have, because everything else is a want. So somebody come off mute. What are the 6 things we absolutely have to spend money on? Anybody?
Rent.
Bingo, exactly. I'm glad you said, and I'm just going to globalize it and say housing, because if anybody's blessed with the home, but no, you're completely correct. We need a roof over our head. What else, people?
Food.
Bingo, exactly. The number 1 need. Without that, game over, right? We got food and we got a roof over our head. What else?
Utilities.
Bingo, exactly. We need the lights, gas, water turned on, maybe a phone, but as I joke, not an iPhone 17 with 9 cameras. But yeah, that's 3. We got 3 to go.
Transportation.
Bingo, and I love you said transportation. That doesn't mean a car necessarily. More on that in a moment, but it could be a bus pass, a moped, a bicycle, whatever. But yes, we got 2 to go.
Insurance.
Bingo. Yes, you are exactly correct. And we got 1 more to go. Remember I said at most 6. I'll give you a hint because this may not apply to every, pardon?
Taxes.
No, well,
Childcare.
yes, exactly, childcare. And we're done. By the way, you just named the 6 quicker than any population I've had at any school adult group in the history of this class. Okay, bravo, love it. My point is, those are your only 6 needs. Start putting all your expenses through that lens. Now, notice here at the bottom, I'm not trying to be an ogre. I'm not saying never ever go out to dinner again, never buy another pair of clothes, shoes or whatever. But I am saying, particularly for those of you who are in debt, you concentrate on the needs, you throttle back on the wants, and by magic, you will now see you have more cash available each month to put against debt or saving. A very important thing, the needs versus wants.
I have a question,
Please.
and I'm trying to phrase this. What if a person, here we go, I got it. What if an individual is trying to save, but there's chronic health issues
Yeah.
that tend to, take chunks of the budget away?
Yeah, and that unfortunately, first I feel for that person. That kind of goes, I'll put that in the subcategory of insurance. If you're saying their medical insurance isn't sufficient because it's co-pays or non-coverable stuff or the
Or
20%.
it's well beyond what
Yeah.
they have available through
Yeah, I
health benefits or anything like that.
Yeah, I obviously have to express extreme sympathy for what that person's going through. And about the best I can say is you just do the best you can. You try to, knowing that your health, that person's health is so fragile, you really batten down the hatches on those wants to try to free up money both to cover the higher than average medical and to still put some money away. But I'm not denying the fact that it makes it much tougher. Okay, the assumption in all of this is that we have reasonable home expenses, reasonable food, and so on. But if the medical is high, it's going to put a strain on things. All I can tell you is following this advice will make life easier no matter where you are. Okay.
Okay, James has his hand back up.
Sure.
I just want to make a quick comment. So, for the folks here that have Kaiser, we do have a maximum out-of-pocket expense.
Yes.
And one of the things that, you know, that you discussed was putting away, you know, the money for the rainy day. And that, you know, in Kaiser, I believe is 15, I think it's $15,000 maximum. So, you know, to keep your, you know, to keep your cost down, um, you would put that money away for, you know, in your rainy day account.
Gotcha. And you guys are, again, very lucky. I teach this class at a lot of places where they don't have a health program that covers as much as what you folks have. So that makes it a little easier on you. But again, thank you for sharing that. Okay.
And thank the union for negotiating that.
Yes, yeah. Bravo. Yes, a big applause for Andrea. Okay, debt. I'm speaking to all of you who have some, and I'm going to complicate it by making it plural. And I'm even going to do one better. I'm going to say 3 debts, and I'm keeping the numbers small, but you'll get the principle. You have 3 debts, a $1,000, a $2,000, and a $3,000. That adds up to $6,000. My advice to you is that you attack the $1,000 loan first. You make the minimum payment on the 2 and the 3, but you attack the $1,000 first, irrespective of interest rate. Quick audience participation. Why do I want you to attack the 1,000 before the 2,000 or the 3,000? Can anybody venture a guess?
It's low hanging fruit.
Bingo,
And it
exactly.
reduces, yeah.
You got it. And Catrelia, yes, it's easier to jump over a 1-foot hurdle than a 2 than a 3. If you're like me, you are a box checker offer. You're going, okay, I got these 3 debts. I make the minimum on the 2 and the 3, and before long, boom, I've paid off the 1. So then I can check it off and say, okay, now I'm down to 2 debts. Then I do the same with the 2,000, and before long, boom, now I'm down to 1 debt. The point is, you get the toehold, you get the small victories, you get the psychological lift, whatever metaphor you want to use. You get rid of those loans, and then that gives you the staying power and the confidence to attack the long slog you're going to have to make for the largest loan. And then, to repeat myself, once you've gotten those weights off your back, you vow to never, ever, 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 ever go back except for a home mortgage. Are we all clear on that? And I don't want to know who's got multiple debts, as Catrelia said up front. This is all private stuff, but I hope everybody is clear on my suggestion for how to deal with it.
Can I add one
Yep.
thing on that? One of the things that saved me back in 2003 when I was trying to figure out how to save for a house,
Yes.
I had amazing, I think I had $30,000 of debt, and I was averaging 25% interest on those.
Ugh.
So I found a company, a debt consolidation company, that got my interest rates lower. Basically, what it did was it said, whatever your minimum payment is, you'll do this for 5 years and you'll have your debt paid off.
Gotcha. Well, and that's great. I just have a couple caveats on that for anybody thinking about that. If you have a bad credit score, you will be unable to do any kind of consolidation like that, number one. And number two, what I tell people is, let's say you have 5 loans that add up to 35,000 and you consolidate it into one loan. Think of what you just did. You turned $35,000 in loans into $35,000 in loans. Like, you haven't made a single progress against the balance. So again, you guys can do what you want, but I'd rather have it in the smaller pieces and attack them one by one rather than some huge thing. And my point is also that if you do it quickly enough, the interest rate becomes a smaller and smaller factor. Your biggest issue is the principal balance. Okay. Number 4, never, ever, ever carry a balance on a credit card. I hope I made that clear. Even for those of you who have been really wise and are paying the credit card off in full every month, 2 pieces of research to keep in mind. People tend to spend more with the credit card than with cash, debit, or check. Can anybody venture a guess as to why? Why do we tend to spend more with the credit card than with cash, debit, or check?
I think I would say for me in the early days, it was the offers the credit card companies gave me.
Okay, that's a great one, but that's not what the research shows. But can anybody else guess?
Laura
Because you
has her
think
hand
that
up.
it's additional money on top of what you already have. So
Yeah,
you're more likely to pull out the card. I would
Bing-
save the cash for something else.
bingo. You are correct, Cassandra.
And
You
Laura
don't-
also has her hand raised.
Yes, Laura, go ahead. The same thing, or you had a question?
I just want to say that there's a concept that if you don't see the money, it's easier to
Bingo.
spend.
Well, that's kind of what Cassandra, you're both
Physical?
geniuses. You're exactly correct. You don't feel the burn. When you see the
Correct.
money come right out of your debit, you go boom. But with the credit card, it's like, well, it's funny money. I won't get the bill for a while. Then I have 28 days to pay. So for those of you, even if you're paying it off in full, call a timeout before you make any major purchase and say, wait a minute, would I buy something this expensive if I had to pay cash? And if the answer is no, you step away from the shopping cart. You do not swipe. You do not tap. Second watch out. You've been paying it off, but like they say, best laid plans of mice and men. You have better than a 50% chance you're going to fall off the wagon and start running up 18 to 38% interest. That's why banks issue the cards. They try to tantalize you with the rewards that James alluded to, but they know they have a better than 50% chance they're going to get you. Okay? So that's my watch out to those of you who have been paying it off in full. Now on to those who haven't been. You kind of pay it off, but then it comes back and you always have some kind of balance there. Remember, I said no shame for where you've been, but I want to see a behavioral change. You do a plastectomy. You start this afternoon, no more use of the card. You put on the ground rule, excuse me, the guardrails of using cash, debit, or check. We go back to the mantra of earlier. If I can't afford to pay cash for something, I can't afford it. Like James, I have no problem if you pay it off in full every month, getting those rewards because they're nominally, quote, for free. But for anybody who's carrying a balance, you are ringing up 18 to 38% interest to get a lousy 2% cash back. Again, no hard time for what you did in the past, but stop. Starting today, no more credit cards. Okay? Are we clear on that? Now we have a polling question on your current experience with your card. So I'm in that wise group. I pay it off in full every month, or I'm sometimes always carrying a balance, or hey, I'm in that ghosted group. I don't even have a card. So again, no one's going to know what you said. We're not asking for numbers. Okay, we're not going to violate Crotelia's instructions up front.
Jonathan has his hand up.
Yeah, while everybody's doing the poll, yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with what you're saying, but lately what I've been doing is instead of paying the full balance on my credit card, I've just been paying the statement balance. And then which gives me a little bit more extra money to put in my investments. Because the statement balance does not, when I pay that, it doesn't charge me an interest rate on my credit card, and it just gives me more money to put in investments. What's your thought on that strategy?
Okay, I'm not exactly sure what you're doing when you say that the statement balance is the amount you'd have to pay to get down to zero, right?
No, so there's the complete balance, the full balance, and then there's just like the minimum state balance, which is a little bit less.
Yeah, never do that. Pay off the entire balance every month, because otherwise, here's what you're trying to do. First of all, you're getting hit with 18 to 38% interest on the card. You're not making anywhere near that on any kind of investing. I beg of you, stop doing that. Pay the card off in full every month. Do not pay $1 in interest, period, starting today. Okay?
Lisa has her hand up.
Yes, please.
I think maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think maybe what he's trying to say is his actual statement, because after your monthly statement closes and you're still using your credit card,
Yes.
that amount doesn't get added to it.
Oh,
I think that's what he meant. So like he is paying it off in full. It's just like,
gotcha.
let's just say if the cutoff is the 30th and he's like swiping on the 1st.
Yes.
So he's only
that's
paying
fine.
up to the 30th.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
think,
You don't
I
have
think,
to.
correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah, that sounds fine. Thank you for clarifying, Lisa. Then what you're doing is very sensible. My only caveat is before I'm going to invest it, I want to make sure I still have enough money left to pay the balance at the end of the next month. But that's fine. As long as I just don't want you to pay a single dollar in interest, period, ever. And for those of you who are,
Got
you
it.
stop doing it as soon as you get the card paid off. Okay, number 5, cars.
We shared the poll.
Oh, yes, please. Yeah, because I forgot. Yes.
No worries.
Okay, well, we can see here, remember I said a little over 50% of people carry a balance? In the group here, it's more like 80 or 90%. 69 out of, well, I can do the math. 69% of you folks are carrying a balance. But I said, I'm going to give you grace on this, but please, starting today, cut up the card. Plastectomy, you get out of it, okay? And get up here in this category and get that loan, get those loans paid off. Okay, cars. No new cars, period, until you're really wealthy. $500,000, $1 million. And even then, again, new shift, you only pay cash for a car and no more than 5% of what you're worth. Having the standard mental set of, oh, I can afford the monthly payment. What does that really mean? I can afford to go into debt to borrow money to buy a car, or I can afford to go into debt to rent a car, which is what a lease is, does not mean affording a car if you want to follow my advice. Affording a car means paying for it with cash. For the umpteenth time, for those of you who are in a different situation right now, I'll cut you some slack, but no more going forward. Why is this so important? Because cars go down in value. We don't, particularly when we're in debt. When you're rich, go ahead and treat yourself to a car, knock yourself out, I don't care. But when you're in debt, you don't build net worth by buying something that goes down in value, particularly when it's the second most expensive thing you'll buy next to a house. Back to our needs and wants. You may think you want a new car, but you do not need a new car. My own life. You heard I got out of school with next to no money and student debt. My first car, paid for with cash, 5-year-old Volkswagen Beetle, hand crank windows, crummy paint job, no air conditioning. I would be lying to say that I was proud of the car when I parked it next to my peers at work, many of whom had gone into debt to chase a new car smell. I didn't care. I wasn't out to impress anybody. You shouldn't be either. And if your friends associate with you based on the quality of your car, they're not worth having as friends. Here's my advice on cars. Again, going forward, depending on, ignoring where you've been up until now, you only buy used. And you do it on somewhere like Facebook Marketplace, so you're not paying a jacked up dealer markup. You go online, you see what the kind of car you want of that make, model, year, mileage, and condition should cost, so you get a fair price. You get the seller to agree that you can get it checked out at your cost by your mechanic, so it's not a lemon. You do that before you change, the money changes hands. You save up to buy a car, $6,000, $8,000, $9,000. Again, I acknowledge nothing fancy. I don't care. Okay, that's what we all have to do. We don't put money in a car. Okay, so that's my advice. Any questions on cars? And for anybody who's stuck, like I had a person in a prior class, they make $30,000 a year. The car dealer let them borrow $30,000 on a car. If anybody's in a situation like that, again, don't share it now, but we can talk about how to get out of it. Or if somebody's in a lease now that I don't want you to have, we can talk about how to get out of it privately in a separate call.
I would offer also for anybody, I mean, I know that we would want to go to you first, but I used to work on car lots and I never bought a new car in my life. But I do believe in never buying a car. If you want newer cars, never buy one that's older than 3 years, because that's where the depreciation starts falling off greatly. So, say if it was a 2025, you would only want to go for 2022 or older.
Gotcha. And I remember yeah, that sounds close. Remember I said my car was a 5-year-old one. Okay, and the 6th one, this last one, I only want you to think about if 1 through 5 aren't working quickly enough. And remember the equation, the way I say we all start out. Income minus expenses equals savings. My first 5 tips were all about ratcheting down on the expense side. My last suggestion works on the income side if you're not making enough progress. And here are 2 ways to see if you're not making enough progress. One, you're not between what you're putting into CalPERS and what you're saving on your own is not at least 15%, or you're in debt, but the amount of money you're able to save at the 15% level, or in your case, 8%, because the 7 is going into the plan, is not enough to get out of the debt in 2 years or less. Meaning, if you're putting aside on your own, say $5,000 a year, and your debt is $3, $4, $5, $10,000, you're going to be out in a couple years. That's cool. But if you're putting aside $5,000 a year and your debt is $10, $15, $20,000, you're going to be at it forever. So to get that weight off your back, the only other lever you have is to think about your income. So I'm going to give you some thought starter ideas on both extending the value of your current income and to make more money. Now, some of these things on this chart you'll see don't apply to you in your situation as a union member. Plenty of the things on this chart do apply to you, and I want you to think of them just as creative ideas where you get out of any mental rut of saying, oh, gee, this is the only amount of money I can make and I can't make it any better. Okay, so with that, we'll look at them. How do you make your check go further? Well, you can work more years. You can delay your retirement. That gives you more money coming in and fewer years in retirement. No shame in delaying the date. You can cut back on your big wide dream. I heard a lot about buying a home, helping family. So example, you had your heart set on a 3-bedroom home. You may say, look, with the income I have, I just can't do it. I'm going to cut back to a 2-bedroom home. Or for helping my family, I wanted to give this much money. I'm going to have to throttle that back. Okay, those are the things you have to think about. On the income side, obviously as union members, we skip this one about asking for a raise. But for anybody who is employed hourly, and this is an important one, if, I repeat, if your particular chapter has overtime available, you can certainly raise your hand and ask to be part of it, because you can make, depending on how many hours, time and a half or double. For some kinds of jobs, again, this does not apply to everybody, there is certain training or certification you can get. We talked about earlier before you folks all joined that I teach at the LAPD. There's a certification they can get through LACC that helps them. And then finally, a part-time job. This does apply to you. I've had students who have done the following math. You can babysit and make $25 an hour. That's $100 a night. You do it 10 nights or weekends in a month, that's $1,000. For many people, that $1,000 would be life-changing in terms of accelerating their progress against their debt. But don't get hung up on that. You can dog walk, you can run errands, you can sell stuff on Etsy, you can do handy person work. I don't care, whatever your jam is, as people say. But, and I realize you work hard at work, but you don't want to avoid, or you don't want to miss out on your big wide dream. We've already established we don't have our families to rely on. So just think about these things as kind of a way to turbocharge your journey if 1 through 5 aren't working quickly enough. So to wrap up, I want everybody to solemnly affirm to start following the Understanding Money Pledge, the 6 tips we just went through. I want y'all to think back. We covered a lot today, starting with your big wide dream and working all the way through saving. Bravo to you, all of you, for being here and starting this journey to financial freedom. It's terrific you showed up, particularly on a holiday. A little bit of homework for next time. I promise it won't take more than 20 minutes. Everybody write down their big wide dream, give it some more thought on a sticky. Nobody needs to change checking accounts, but based on the great advice you got from Andrea and Katrelia about the savings account, if you have extra money, go move your money. Everybody, go redo your budget, thinking about the needs and wants. Start honoring the Understanding Money Pledge. And remember, you don't have to memorize any of this. You're going to be getting a copy of you're going to be getting an email with a link to all these slides. And after that, a copy of the recording so you can do a play-by-play color commentary as you walk through the slides. A quick look at the investing part of the class. This is just a fraction of what we're going to be covering. We're going to talk about different kinds of investments, both wise ones and unwise ones, how they make you money and with what risk, how you split your money among investments because it's unwise to put all your money in one thing. And then how do we keep it all simple? Remember the mantra up front, I can do this. How do we make it so simple that you can easily do it on your own and not pay someone else to do it for you? Remember at the very beginning, both Katrelia and I mentioned this, like that old movie trailer with the guy with the deep voice, you are not alone, which I don't mean to be eerie or creepy here. I mean that in a good way. I'm here to walk with you. If you have questions between session 1 and session 2, or after you graduate, you're going to click on this link. It goes to my private Calendly calendar where I have office hours. And once again, confidential, private, free. We can talk about your personal money situation. You can schedule as many as you want. A bunch of my class students and other classes have signed up for this. I'm happy to do it with you folks as well. And then a request to you. I'm going to give you the link to my handle where you can start following me. Every week I post a bunch of free money tips that cover both the course and a bunch of things we don't have time to go over in 3 hours across the 2 sessions. I'll never have enough followers like Beyonce, but I don't care about that. I want to help you. So please go follow me. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. And when you look at my calendar, just one other thing, it rolls on a 28-day period. So I joke, it's not quite like getting a Taylor Swift tickets, but if you check right now, I may be fully booked, but tomorrow a new date will roll out 28 days. So just keep checking the calendar periodically to schedule time. And with that, I will stop sharing. And I will, in the chat, put the links if you want to get a jump on your fellow Staff Guild members. I just put 2 links in the chat. Okay, link number 1 goes to my calendar. These will also be in the slides, but take a copy now. The first one goes to scheduling time with me. The second one goes to my link tree so you can start following me and seeing all the great money tips I'll give you online. You can also make fun of how bad I look in the videos. So everybody think of any final questions that you have. And while you're doing so, we owe a huge round of applause to Katrelia and Andrea for allowing me to partner with you guys to be here. I've taught hundreds of students at your schools. The community college system is near and dear to my heart. You Staff Guild members do invaluable work for the community and your students, and it's an honor to be here to partner with you and impart this knowledge. So, and I know we ran over a little bit, but you asked such great questions. I didn't mind going over. I hope it was worthwhile for everybody. Any final questions before we turn it over to my able associate to close us out?
I want to just thank you for your input. I've read a lot of books and listened to a lot of radio shows over the years, and your stuff is right online. In fact, I learned some stuff today, so I was excited.
Oh, thank you. I did not put James up to that. He does not know me, and that was not a paid endorsement. But I'm relieved to hear that as opposed to what a waste of my time.
Yeah, I thought I knew everything, and I learned something. See?
Well, thank you. And anybody else? Questions, comments, whatever, before Katrelia says goodbye to everybody?
I just had a question.
Oh,
Sorry.
No, one at a go. Somebody. Lisa.
I have to go, but I want to thank you. I know I came in late, but the information that I was able to gather was great. So I cannot wait for the recording.
Yes.
Thank you for this, and I will see you in session number 2.
Thank you, Veronica. And then
Okay.
Lisa had
I
one.
just had a question about the second session. So we'll be receiving the Zoom link when it's closer to the date. Great. Thank you. That's all I had. Thank you.
Yep.
And again, thank you for your information today.
Oh, thank you.
Actually, the link was provided in the flyer for the second one you need to register for. But I'll make sure to include that in the email that you're about to receive.
Thank you.
And once you register, you will get an approval with your private login after you register.
Right, because I registered for both first session and second session, and I got the
Yep,
Zoom
so-
link and the thing for the first one, but I didn't get the second one, so I was just wondering if we're getting it later.
Yep, we're gonna pause because we don't want for those going to the retirement one tomorrow to get confused. So as I get closer to the date, let's say 5 days out, we'll send your private links.
Thank you
And
so
send it
much.
out
I'll be
again.
looking forward to it.
Absolutely, Lisa.
Kate? Kate Gleason, you
Yes.
have, there you
Sorry,
go.
I had a question about the high interest
Yes.
loans. There are ones that are from the banks, and then there's ones from credit cards. What's your opinion on those?
Okay, I don't mind admitting what I don't know about. I'm not aware of savings accounts with a credit card, because the credit card is where you borrow money and you pay them interest. I'm not really sure. The only ones I'm aware of are the ones that I gave you on Bankrate, the link that I provide in the slides. But remember, you got a tip that I wasn't aware of because I'm not part of CalPERS or the staff guild. From Andrea and Catrelia about that you guys have a better rate. Because remember, mine is only like 4.3, 4.5.
Okay, well, thank you so much for all this information and
Sure.
everyone putting this together. It was very helpful.
And I just saw Lisa put in the chat that Discover Card now offers a savings account. My thing is, I'm just kind of simple-minded. I chase the high rate. If Discover can beat the CalPERS rate, or whatever you call the special.
It was schools federal credit union.
Oh, the credit union. Okay. If Discover can beat the credit union, chase Discover, and if not, go with the other one, right? And just what I would do also, I tell people, don't drive yourself nuts. Like once a quarter, check in, take a look at what you're making, go to Bankrate, check what the credit union is paying to make sure that your number is still in line, because the one can drop more than yours or go up.
True.
But don't, like every day, don't worry, just if it's close, keep your money where it is, but don't be earning the 1 penny like what my bank pays.
Right.
Very
And Cassandra, you had your hand up. Did you?
No, I just wanted to thank Bruce again for coming here to do this for us. It's really important, especially since a lot of people, well, the majority on my campus anyway, most of us are over 50.
Yes.
And we're getting close to retirement. And it's really important for us to hear this information now, because some of us haven't been doing what we were supposed to do the entire time.
Well, but again, for the 5th time or umpty-umps, don't give yourself a hard time. Just give yourself some grace, draw a line and say, I'm going to start doing that stuff that bozo taught me.
We're not gonna call you a bozo.
No,
James?
we're not. Thank you.
I just
Thank you.
wanted to follow up. I had gone to Schools Federal Credit Union, and the deal is, you do get that awesome 6-point-something% rate, but the max you can put into it per month is $2,000.
$2,000, yeah.
Okay. So everybody hear that? So
Per month?
Per month.
Per month, yeah.
There's no minimum,
okay.
but the
Is there a
maximum is.
maximum of
the
like
max-
how long? Like, could I do this for like 5 years as long as it's 2,000?
No. It is for summer savings. It's a summer savings
Okay,
account.
thank you.
And then you can roll it back into that same account come August.
But I can put 2,000 every month into that account, yielding at 6%. Oh, okay.
Okay. So I
Mhm.
guess to build on that, then back to my chasing the rate. If anybody's blessed with so much money, they can do 2 in that and then go to the bank rate thing that I gave you and earn 4-point-something, which is still better than
True.
0. Everybody got that? Like put as much as you can at 6, because 6 beats 4, right?
Mhm.
And then put as much as you can in 4, because 4 beats 0. Remember I said I keep this pretty simple.
Yeah.
All right. Final words.
Final words. Thank you all. I'm just so excited that we had as many as we did today. Sorry that the other 100 didn't pay attention to their emails, but we understand it is a holiday. But we are excited about this training. And so please come back next Thursday. We will be at work. and you will get the reminders on your whatever email you signed up with. And so thank you so much, Bruce. Thank you for your wisdom and your common sense way of getting out of debt. Thank you.
Thank you.